Hey guys, so I do apologize for the delay, but here it is. So, as you can see, first of all, most importantly, test setup was um, the card I used for the 3080 benchmarks was the 3080 Strix White. It's important because it is a 450 watt card. You need a 450 watt card to make this kind of deduction fair. And that's partially because 450 watts actually kind of helps the GA102 quite a lot because Ampyre's GA102 die was extremely power hungry, and without a 450 watt BIOS, you were struggling. In a lot of cases, you were very, very like power limited. You would just lose a bunch of performance. To the tune of, honestly, I mean, if I had to compare a 350 watt card to like a 450 watt card in some scenarios, you could genuinely lose something like 5 to 10% depending on how bad that bottleneck is in terms of power. If you were hitting a really hard ceiling and your clock speed was, really hard capped, if the whatever application drew a lot of current, yeah, you were going to be very power limited, and you could see literally like 5 to 10%, and that's just because power is that important for GA102. I'm not saying it would have been 10% all the time, but I'm saying more or less 5-10%, but it could actually be 10%. So it's important that this comparison is made, in context of the V-BIOS limit, because on a card that's like 350 watts, yeah, this 4080 would have added a solid amount of performance to it, like a gap over it, and that's kind of something that has to be mentioned. And then secondly, the 4080 I had a 350 watt BIOS limit, but the thing is, I found that Lovelace actually has a hard limit at 1.11 volts, so 1.11 volts, and most applications don't actually hit that voltage limit, which is kind of weird. But yeah, that's kind of strange. So I'm on the side of I don't really think a 450 watt 4080 even makes sense because I don't really see how you would draw 450 watts. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you would get some. I'm sure in some applications you would get more performance, but like not. It's not as drastic as the 3080, so that's just fun trivia. But I mean, I couldn't get a different 4080, so I mean, this was the best one available to me for the pricing. So the reference prices used, guys, please don't be angry. The 3080 Strix White is it's actually the only 450 watt card in Micro Center that's brand new. And then at Micro Center as well is a 4080 Tough with the same power limit as my Game Rock card. And that's $1,200. So if I'll show you guys, and this is where it gets kind of stupid. As you can see, the 3080 10 gig Strix, or I'd say the 3080 10 gig with a 450 watt BIOS limit is currently $900. Whereas you could buy this card for 850. Now, this card at 850 is actually an insanely good deal. Like, this is a really good deal, guys. Um, at this kind of pricing, and I'd imagine it's going to claw back some performance versus the 4080. This would make the 4080 quite underwhelming if you had to choose, I guess. But let's get into the actual numbers, and just to show you, like, this card has the same power limit as my card, so that's why I chose it, obviously, and, yeah. Now, this is a really dumb price. I think this should be more like $800, maybe 750 even. That would make more sense. This is just kind of stupid, but unfortunately, Micro Center is currently the only like fair pricing place available, and yeah, every card is kind of brand new and backed by warranty, so it's all 1-to-1. I can't really compare a used card 1-to-1 because you'd have to go, okay, use 4080, then it just doesn't really work out right. So, unfortunately, this is a really dumb deal, but it is what it is. It happens to be the exact same card I actually had, except I had a V1 version, not the LHR version, but that doesn't really make a difference either. But yeah, so that probably is a bit annoying, guys, but I really can't find a 450 watt, $700 card. I mean, I could try. Let me try right now. Let me actually give it a shot. Let me see if Best Buy has something, perhaps. Maybe even BHP or something. Let's just see what they have, right? Um, Pretend like I'm in the USA. All right. Wait, what? Why is it showing me 3070 Ti? The hell? Weird. Okay. So this card is 900 as well. It seems. So it seems like 3080s are quite hard to find right now. It's quite interesting. Um, Weird. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, look, guys, look, I would love to compare this to the 4080, but I just didn't have one, right? So it doesn't really make sense for me to try. Um, but yeah, this card is $900 now. It should be more like 800. Um, you know, you know what? I'm gonna be honestly, I'm gonna be fair, because I think a lot of you guys watching this video would be okay, like kind of saving $50 and losing 2 gigs of VRAM and then losing some of the performance. I think a lot of people would pay $800, but I don't think a lot of people pay 900. I think 900 is a stupid price. I think it's really nonsensical how a card that's obviously better performing is cheaper. So I'm gonna go ahead and make it 800, and I'm gonna adjust it myself because I think that's fair. Um, and I think 800 is a very fair price for what a Strix 3080 should cost. So I'm gonna say $800, and that should be 50% more expensive if I'm not wrong. Wait, no. Yep. So yeah, 1.5. So wait, why was this 69.33? What the hell? How did that happen? Weird. Anyway, so 50% more money. All right. So and now I think this is fair because 850, right? You save $50, and then it's sitting at the cheapest price. I think that would make sense. $800, I think, is a fair valuation for this comparison. I think that's more fair. But okay, so 50%, and now this is where it gets tricky, guys, because I think something happened where we all got jaded and we all thought like, okay, the 4080 is gonna suck. Now I did too. When the benchmarks came out, I was flabbergasted. I was like, there ain't no way this card is performing this well. Like, this card impressed the hell out of me because in 1440p, where it's meant to be used because it's got a 256-bit bus, um, it performs really well. Like, really well. So, in Modern Warfare 2, what I found currently to be, I mean, tied with Speedway for the most GPU bound game on Earth right now. 52.28%. This is the best part. This is the best part. The 4080 didn't even hit max util. That's insane. So, I'm gonna put some context here. So, I'm gonna have some fun facts here in the bottom. So, I'm gonna have fun facts. Uh, Weird. So, how was it performing 50% faster with like bad GPU util? Like, it doesn't hit 100. It's like 80 to 90. Like 80 to 90, dude. Like literally. I mean, it's 100 every now and again, but it's like, I mean, I'll say 80 to 95, but it jumps, right? So it's kind of crazy. Um, Otherwise, in Forza Horizon 5, weird. super super weird. Um, this too, I think, is quite relevant. Um, Watch Dogs Legion was not at all hitting anything over 80%. Um, with tested settings, I'm gonna say. And Valhalla actually is a GPU bound game, so you actually have a problem there. Far Cry 6, same deal. And otherwise, Fire Strike as well. It seems to be, but I think Fire Strike is more of an architectural thing. I don't really see a problem. Okay, so the verdict has to be so. That's the verdict right now, as it stands. Um, all testing was conducted at 1440p. Um, and then we're gonna put some context. So MW2 was lowest ish. Um, Forza was high settings. Actually, I'm just gonna say it like this. And remember, guys, all of this testing is going to be in the videos anyway. So if you want to see what settings I used, they'll be right there for you to check. Um, there's nothing for me to elaborate now because you can really see it with your own eyes in those videos. So you can check those out, and all the test data will be there. So, yep. So, oh, I'm gonna say on video. Tape sounds like freaking 1975, right? So, in on video. So cool. Anyway, so this is the deal right now. I don't really know what to say. Like, it's tough, guys, because as it stands, if you're in America or even Europe and you're in a situation where you have to pick between a brand new 3080 and a brand new 4080, because remember, guys, the context is important. You can't look at a used card and then compare it to a new card because, unfortunately, new cards or used cards inherently have stuff like mining degradation, like stuff like that. I mean, a used 3080 for $500 in the market is not going to be a well looked after card. Not to say it's dangerous. I made a video, defending mining, but what I'm saying is that contextually you can't really compare it because it isn't really the same thing. Like, you have to compare a card you can buy on your name with the full warranty period and no wear on the card. And unfortunately, right now, 3080s in terms of pricing are only just recovering. Unfortunately, like, the pricing was good. Like, I mean, a few months ago, I think back then there were like 3080s brand new for like 650 and $600 and stuff like that. And now they're back up to like, you know, 700-800 because Lovelace is just not that good in terms of value. So right now, unfortunately, guys, a 3080 is $800. And yeah, but I mean, the AMD cards, right? Like the AMD cards coming out, they should help correct that a bit because the XTX might, at $1,000, be quite a bit faster than a 3080, maybe around 60%. And if it's 60% faster for just 25% more money, and it's got the ray tracing capability of the same card, it's got the ray tracing capability of the 380 at least. Yeah, it's gonna be a tough one to keep 380 at $800. I think by that point it'll drop, and by that point, you would have to guess the 4080 will come down as well to $1,000. That's very likely. But as of right now, at 50% more money, is it a good deal? I mean, like, I mean, you guys saw what I did, right? Like, I didn't even use the $900 figure, because, like, I recognize this is a stupid price. It should be $800. But, I mean, guys, like, right now, it's literally 50%. Like, that's the craziest part of it all, guys. And so, my verdict would have to be that, like, I mean, if you do play demanding games like Valhalla, like Modern Warfare 2, you know, and then let's say, you know, you run ray tracing. So let's say you run ray tracing, and you're able to actually push some kind of like, you're able to push the card far and get it working, you know, get it utilizing. Then maybe, yeah, like if you compare it to a 3080, when the card is 100% utilized, like in certain scenarios, like, well, not this one, but like, you know, in Valhalla, I mean, well, in this game, it's not utilized 100%, but it still runs much faster. But yeah, in these terms, like these types of games, like 3D Mark, Benchmarks, and then like, you know, Valhalla, and then like, you know, any sort of game that would mirror the draw of like, you know, current, like the kind of like power draw in terms of like work. So the work draw of a 3D Mark application, yeah, you'll see a 50%. And if you can get 50% of the card, then yeah, at current pricing, $800 versus $1,200 is 50% a good deal. It's a good deal if you assume that you waive your generational upgrade. And that's the problem. Because back in the past, the 3080 was at least 50% faster than 2080. And the MSRPs were about equal. And that's the problem. That's the fundamental problem. What happened was that vendors decided, listen, mining killed cards for how long? The pricing was this high for how long? Complaining about shipping because of COVID. So what happened? Now, when cards are finally, you know, capable of selling for normal prices, they're like, okay, cool, well, I guess the 3080 is $800 now. Because why drop the MSRP when stock is coming down, people are buying them all up, they're not buying Lovelace. So, yeah, and that's kind of the thing. I mean, in a vacuum, if you consider 3080 and 4080 as in the same family of card, like I've said before on video, then yes, the 4080 is a good deal because you're paying 50% more money for 50% more card. But you're literally waiving your generational upgrade. Now, is that fair? Well, it depends. Because could you buy an $800 Strix 3080 2 years ago? Well, yes and no. Some people did. Some people did. Those people that did buy that card got an insanely good deal because that card would have been worth at least double and likely would have sold their card, right? GPUs did become worth a fortune and we can't ignore that. So, at this current time, are card prices fair? Well, not really, but like, kinda yes, but not really. It's like, yes and no. What would have had to happen is that Nvidia would have had to allow such a large backlog that perhaps right now, if cards were falling off shelves, maybe 3080s would have dropped in price to like $500. And by that point, that would have been an insane deal. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened, but that just hasn't happened, and we're stuck with what we have right now. Now, do I think you should buy this card? Probably not. Probably not. If you're in America, like, no. Just because, you know, the XTX will be $1,000 for you guys, which is lucky. So if you're in America, no, you should just buy the XTX. Or maybe buy a 4080 when it comes down to $1,000 too. That's what I would say you probably should buy. Should you buy a 90 at 1440p? No, hell no. It's gonna completely... It's... I mean, guys, I'm telling you right now, the 4080 is currently outrunning my i7, which is a problem, because the next upgrade is the i9, and I don't really feel like the i9 is fast enough to really, you know, pick up the pace, because I don't think that, like, or the slack, I would say, I don't think the i9 can fix the slack that the i7 is currently leaving. I don't think that the i9 is the solution. I just don't feel like it is. So, if that's the case, then at 1440p, the 4090 is a terrible purchase. Like, terrible. At 1440p, if you buy a 4090, you're crazy. Like, that's just, like, you cannot buy that card at 1440p. If you want to play 1440p, the 4080 is an option, and there is an argument for it, and the argument that is there is, behind the 4090, the 4080 is the fastest ray tracing card on the planet. And compared to the AMD cards, right? Now, look at Speedway. Look at Speedway. Recognize that the 3080 has a 320-bit bus. This card has 256. The data load. So what I'm saying is the memory bandwidth demand would have been higher well, it would have been more easily, what's the word, like, resolved by 3080's bandwidth, and the 4080 doesn't have that bandwidth. So the fact that this card is winning by 52% in Speedway, and then you could look at stuff like the Nvidia Racer benchmark, that one, and stuff like Portal RTX, like games that utilize that that ray reorganization type feature, that I think it's called SCR or something. If a game can utilize Lovelace's optimized ray tracing, you're gonna see something like 60 to 70% more performance in RT tasks with the 4080 over 3080. The 7900 XTX is on par with 3090 Ti at best. Okay? People are saying they're not sure. I'm pretty damn certain that if those numbers are saying it's on par, I think it's on par. I'd say a 3090 Ti and that card on par, it makes sense. However, I've seen tables, like, I've seen data showing that the actual, like, the ray work power, like, the ray work, like, the ray, what's the word? Like, you know, how many rays it can actually, like, I don't know, man. It's a stupid metric Nvidia made, right? Like ray ops, whatever it's called. Like, it's a really dumb metric, but anyway. Like, the power of the ray tracing accelerators on the AMD card, like, I think that they actually have less capability than the 3090 Ti. Which means that if it matches a 3090 Ti in ray tracing, it's probably due to stuff like the die itself being much faster. So, yo. But if it can ray trace as well as 3090 Ti, then, yo, 4080 is going to end up being like maybe 50% faster, 60% faster than ray tracing. So, yo, that's a tough one. Like, I can't say yet because the AMD cards haven't launched, so we have no idea, right? But, like, if I'm being speculative, like, if I can speculate, I would say that if you want to ray trace, you're better off waiting for 4080 to drop to $1,000. So, simple. The 750X or the 700 XTX is going to be 10% faster than 1440p. 10% faster. I'm telling you now. If the XTX is more than 10, so like 20% faster, the XTX will be on par with 4090 and 1440p. So, the question is, in 1440p, I don't know, because the problem is that card, similar to 4090, is a 384-bit bus card. Meaning that, well, if you compare that in the 4090 to 4080 at 4K, the lead is bigger. At 1440p, the 4090 is no more than 20% faster, and that's like best case scenario. And I know this because I've checked different outlets. So before you ask why I say that, I've checked different outlets. At not 4K, 1440p, the 4090 is about 20% faster. And that's if you can get the card to utilize. Like I showed you guys, there's a problem. Like, you know, in these numbers, you can see that in some situations, the card can't utilize. If you can get the 4090 to utilize, you can extract 20% out of it at 1440p. The 7950 XT, my prediction is, or 7900 XTX should be, I said it wrong. The 7900 XTX, not the 50 whatever, the current one, not the one next to it, but the current one, should be 10% faster at 1440p. If it's 10% faster 1440p than 4080, but 4080 is 50% faster than RTX, and Nvidia dropped to 999, I'm sorry AMD, but fuck. Like, this, like, if the 4080 is 10%, or if the AMD card is 10% faster, and both are equal pricing, the 4080 bodies it in RTX, then I just don't see how you could buy the AMD card. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, I just being honest, like, I mean, look, it's the truth. It's the truth, right? Like, what can you say? Like, I don't know what to say. It sucks. AMD should have done better at RT. Because they will beat the 4080. They will beat it. It's going to be faster for sure. 100%. I'm telling you right now. 100% guaranteed. The 7900 XTX is faster than 4080. For sure. 100%. In 1080, 1440p, 4K, everything. Faster. At least 10%. At 4K, I think 20% is a very realistic number. In fact, I think 25 could happen. Not saying it would happen, but could happen. But I'd say at 4K, 20% on the AMD card, and then the 4090 wins by like 35% against the 4080. So, the 4080 is quite a poor 4K card. Now, again, like I'm saying, at $1,200, could you justify buying 4080 over the AMD card? The AMD card is 10% faster than raster, which is not very noticeable, because that's like, let's say it's 100 frames versus 110 at 1440p. That's not very noticeable. So, if the 4080 is like not that much slower at 1440p, but it does win at, you know, RT by 50%, which it will. At $1,200, it's not an utterly terrible purchase, but it's not great either. It's kind of it's on the fence, you know. It's kind of in the middle. It's like it's in an awkward position. It's not really amazing, but not really like, you know. It's like you could buy it, right? Most won't, but you could buy it. 999 makes a lot more sense. Now, people saying the card's horrible value, I don't think you've tested it. That's the truth. I just don't think you've tested it. Either you haven't tested it, or you don't know what the card does. Maybe you haven't watched a video on it. But, yeah, the card is pretty damn fast. Like, pretty damn fast. It's a lot faster than you would think. Because I myself thought this card was terrible. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I thought this thing was terrible. The fact that it's doing so well is insane. I mean, dude, do you know, I've actually beaten some 4090s in certain benchmarks in our country. Like, that's crazy. So, 4080 is actually, like, capable. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. Like, believe me, it's not too bad. But, you know, like, it's just... It's hard to justify buying it, right? It's very hard to justify. And I'm going to elaborate a bit further in another video that I'll make, I think, just now. Because this video is getting a bit drawn out. And I'm starting to go off the kind of, you know, scientific analysis point of it. So I'm trying to... You know, I'm trying to, like, you know, cut it off now, because I think that the speculation stuff should be in a more fun video. So, let me cut off now, guys. I think that's enough. I'm pretty sure you guys get the idea. As I said, transparent. Testing data is going to be shown raw footage of it. Yeah, and I'll make another video talking more about the 4080 and my thoughts about it. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found it useful. And if you do buy a 4080, it's not the worst idea, but it would be wise to wait for the price drop, because it's very possible. I'm not going to say likely, because Nvidia aren't really known to price drop, but it's possible they will price drop. What's more likely is that they will release a 4080 Super that performs way better, and then dump the 4080. That's more likely than them dropping the card to $999, because Nvidia historically just don't really drop MSRPs. Those deals they did with Ampere were strictly like specials, so to speak. They were like complete silent MSRP drop specials. They weren't like dropping MSRP. They were simply putting their cards out on a discount, so to speak. Weird, but yeah, that's kind of how that went. So let me cut off now, guys. 4080 is fast as hell. If you're thinking the 4080 is like a 3090, no, you're crazy. Like, 4080 is damn quick, right? It's damn quick. It's just in a very weird spot. But yeah, so hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you next time, hopefully.